Hi, everybody. Welcome to our webinar, Effective Rapport Building Through the Barrier of Virtual Conversation. This week, we are going to do something a little bit different. Our previous webinars were more focused on the doing of simulation and getting things done. Today, we're hoping to concentrate on something that is going to be useful for you personally, useful for your learners, useful for colleagues, and maybe even in family. And I do need to correct myself a little bit in that we already did this webinar. And thanks to the miracle of technology, we are having to rebroadcast our webinars. So we hope that you will tune in and enjoy version 2. Who are we? My name is Christine Park. I am the Director of Simulation and Integrative Learning here at the University of Illinois College of Medicine. And I have with me a bunch of team members who are involved. Alba Woolard, Standardized Patient Coordinator, who is, you'll see today, Laura McKenzie, Assistant Director, Raina Long, who's a Standardized Patient Coordinator, and you'll see also Bob Kaiser, Amy Binns-Calvi, and Linda Shadrick was a contributor. So what's going on today with all of our Zoom meetings? Well, it seems that there has been such a Zoom culture that has already been built up that there are things like conference call bingo for all the little glitches that happen. And at SAIL, we may or may not have been guilty of playing this game during our own conference calls. Additionally, there's a real cognitive drain on us having to be on these calls all day long. And in fact, the New York Times did talk about this and talked about the fact that our normal, what we're calibrated to as humans, is not normal on these Zoom calls. So there's all kinds of problems like little microscopic, even audio and visual glitches. And this is consistent with research on interpreters at the United Nations, actually, who reported feelings of burnout, fogginess, and alienation when they were translating proceedings via video feed. And studies on video psychotherapy also indicate that therapists and their patients also feel fatigued, disaffected, and uncomfortable. So there's a lot for us to try to break through, and we're going to try to address some of that today. There's one thing that we are not going to be able to address today that's out of the scope of today, and that's the enormous problem of people with disabilities. If you're not able to hear well, if you're not able to see well, if you can't afford technology, how are people able to access what in many cases we have assumed that everyone has access to? We want to acknowledge that we're aware that there's a big problem, and also to say that that's going to be out of the scope of what we're going to talk about today. And so with that, I am going to turn it over to Alba Woolard.
Hello, everyone. I'm Alba Woolard, Standardized Patient Coordinator at UIC. And we're going to start off with a poll. So as we go through the polls during this webinar, you can self-assess which one of these answers would have been most appropriate for you. So this first poll question is, how connected do you feel to the people you interact with during the day? And the options are less connected, more connected, or the same amount connected. And the responses that we got from our attendees was 70% of the attendees felt less connected, 20% felt more or felt the same amount connected, and then only about 8%, 7 people said that they felt more connected to the people that they're interacting with during the day. So the vast majority of the participants, again, 70% said that they felt less connected. So that's what we're hoping for to address today. And so I just starting off with these UIC simulation agreements, just something to think about is this third one, especially owning this with us and trying it on. The things that we discussed today, it may not be something that's in your wheelhouse or something that you've done before. So we just encourage you to, jump in and try this on with us. So who are we at the SAIL team? We're mostly actors. Most of us come from an acting background. And while this is not an acting class today, the purpose of this is not to teach you how to act, we have found that coming from an acting background, there are a lot of the same principles that have helped us out in transitioning to this new world that is via Zoom. So this is us warming up before a presentation, doing some vocal and face exercises there. Yeah, so again, we're all actors, and so we're gonna talk about how some acting techniques can be brought into this new Zoom world. So here's another poll for you. Now we would like to know, who are you who have joined the call? And so in this poll, our question was, what makes up the bulk of your video conference interactions? And the biggest percentage, 67%, responded administrative meetings. So administrative meetings make up the bulk of their interactions. And then a pretty big drop off to 12% said training staff, meaning SPs or SimTechs. And then also teaching learners was an option. Actual patient care was an option. Only one person said actual patient care. And then other was also 9%. Yeah, so that's the bulk of the interactions. Most of the people who attended, it was administrative meetings was the bulk of the interactions. And I would say that that's probably true for me and the majority of our team as well. So now what we're gonna do is we're just gonna drop in on a typical Zoom meeting, administrative meeting that you might have during the day. And while you're watching this, I want to encourage you to make note of what things you think are contributing to effective communication and what things are maybe distracting or not contributing to effective communication. Oops, there we go. Yes, can you email the SPs and just remind them of that? The charts need to be done too. Who wants to do the charts? Who wants to do the charts?
I think.
Oh, all right, great. You got it? Great. And then we need to double check learning space. I can do that. Give me a second. I want to make sure I have my, there we go. Okay. Yeah, I'll double check learning space. And when can everybody meet again? Great. So now I would like to, I'm inviting you all to think about what from that is supporting effective communication and what aspects are problematic. So I'm going to pass it to Rain along for some of the responses that we got when we presented this.
So first time around, some of the folks chatted to us. The things they noticed about this video was that it was problematic, that you could not see the person in the window, that she was backlit. That the person who responded with a thumbs up needs to be verbal, that there was some camera jostling that was distracting, and one person looked really disinterested.
Hey, thanks. So with that, then we invite you to think about what is different being in Zoom interactions versus being in real life. What is different? Well, one, we're not having a shared environment. So we're not experiencing the same room, the same surroundings, the same ambient noise. There's also no physical touch. So if I want to give somebody, you know, a comforting pat on the shoulder or a handshake, you can't do that in through Zoom. You also can't have true eye contact in Zoom. And there's an altered camera perspective. So a small lean backward or lean to the side may be a very small amount of my field of vision in real life, but in the camera, now it's taking up, you know, 30, 40, maybe even 50% of my movement in the screen. So that perspective is changed and it can be a little bit more distracting. And then the last thing is just those general distractions, as Christine showed in our bingo game, that there are so many other general distractions that we have to deal with. So with all of these differences, we could all be feeling a little bit disjointed, right? So you might be saying, yeah, that sounds good, but maybe your nonverbals, your facial expression is saying something else because you're not really feeling great, you know? So that can mean that our verbals and nonverbals are not congruent. And Philip Yap says that for inconsistent or contradictory communications, our body language and our tone may be more accurate indicators of what we mean. So what does that mean? That if you're verbals and your nonverbals are incongruent, people may tend toward believing your nonverbals more than they believe the actual words that you're saying. So what do we do to make up for this disjointedness? How can we make our verbals and our nonverbals congruent? And to answer that, or here's some food for thought. So these are just some things for you to think about, and this is what our agenda will be for today. So we're aiming to just bring awareness to some of these areas to hopefully make up for some of that disjointedness. So one is surroundings. We'll just touch briefly on that, on how your surroundings may be affecting you. Your face, bringing awareness to what your face looks like and how your face feels, your body, and your voice. And then lastly, what your mindset is, or what the subtext is of what you're saying. And that'll be kind of bringing everything together. So just briefly to touch on surroundings. So this is what you might see. So in my meetings, I'm making sure, you know, I'm center of the camera. I've got good lighting. It's clear behind me. There's not too much distraction behind me. And you know, thinking about that, I live alone, so there's nobody around me who might distract or make noise or anything like that. But this is what I see. So this is what you see, and this is what my desk actually looks like. And so something to consider is how is what you've surrounded yourself with perhaps affecting you? Maybe an empty cereal bowl is really conducive to you being focused. I know it's not conducive to my productivity. So I've made an effort to clean up this disorganized desk to hopefully bring myself some more peace in my work. So something to consider is what you're surrounding yourself with as well. So great, so that's surroundings. So now we're gonna move to face, and there are two things that we can think about in regards to our face. You can think about stretching your face and massaging your face. And from the acting perspective, a face stretch can wake up your face if you're feeling like your muscles are still, or you're not making big facial expressions, not being very expressive. Then there's face stretching. You can do some stretches, and we'll be doing those, and I encourage you to do them along with us. And then face massaging is the other part if your face is feeling tense. I know I hold a lot of tension in my jaw when I sleep. Sometimes I clench, and so I can wake up with some tension there, and sometimes I'm not even thinking about it. And so a nice face massage. So we're gonna go into those things. So to start, wow, you have a whole lot of muscles in your face, right? And we might go to a masseuse and get a massage there, or we stretch our muscles all over our body, but we're not always thinking about our face. So, we'll start with the face stretching. So lemon face, lion face is how I've heard it termed in the past. And so with lemon face, you just squish everything toward the middle. So you squish your face as tight as you can toward the middle. And then with lion face, you make your face as big as you can. You can stick your tongue out, you make your eyes wide. And the trick to this is that it shouldn't really be a little like, because you want to hit the whole range of motion that you have in your face. Trying to scrunch everything up and everything wide. And that over time, doing that multiple times in a row, gets the blood flowing and can wake up your face and bring some more awareness to your face. And so then the next thing is releasing the tension from your face. If you think about maybe where you hold your tension, I know I do in my jaw. If you've practiced your hand hygiene for today and you feel comfortable touching your face, then I invite you to take the heels of your hands, of your palms, and press them into your jaw there, and you can just kind of roll around. You can roll all the way down your jaw and release the tension there, and kind of up underneath your cheekbones. Another place I know I hold tension is right between my eyebrows. So you can take your thumbs and move up, and then pull them all the way out to the sides here and go down to the temples. You can do that multiple times. And I encourage you, just when you're doing something like this, just do it as long as it feels good, because it's not necessarily like oh, I have to do this for 30 seconds, or if I'll just do this once or twice and it's fine. Just as long as you're feeling the release in your face and in your muscles from this. And then another one is just along the bridge of the nose, coming down around the mouth area here, because I know lots of times I'll scrunch up my nose. And so just releasing those muscles there. And you can massage, your head, you can massage your neck, to just release all those muscles and think about where it is that you're holding your tension. So thank you if you participated along with us, and thank you to my colleagues for participating as well. And with that, I would like to know, and for you to think about, what things did you discover about your face? And I'm going to pass to Rain along for her to share what our participants discovered.
So first time around, folks, one person noticed that they needed some face lotion, which is always good to maintain. Folks noticed that there was tension in their face. Some folks said that it was relaxing. Some folks said that that wasn't enough and that the massage felt really good. So as you mentioned, this is something that you can keep up as long as it feels good.
Yeah, great, thank you.
Absolutely.
So next time if you feel like, oh, I get told I'm stoic, or I'm hard to read, or I'm not making, my facial expressions clear, or if your face just feels stiff, you can do a face stretch. If your face feels like you're holding a lot of tension in it, you can massage that face. So why is this important? Basically because as a species, we are obsessed with other people's facial expression. It's how we communicate, it's how we get an idea of how the people around us are feeling. So also something else to think about is that, especially in Zoom calls, you really never know who's watching with all of our faces all on the same screen. Anybody could be watching you at any point. And so, so knowing what your face is doing and how your face is responding can be very important. All right, so now we are going to move to body exercises. So today we're going to focus on stretching and kind of waking up your body a little bit. And this is a really simple exercise that you can do. You can stand up from your desk and do this. Something to think about is that in the office, we're very often, you probably have more space in your office than you do in your apartment. I know my apartment's about 500 square feet, so I don't really move very far during the workday. And so my blood doesn't get pumping as much. My heart rate doesn't really get going as much. I don't have to walk to somebody's office to talk to them. It's just another Zoom call. And so bringing awareness to your body and getting your body moving can be very important. So before we do this one, my colleagues encouraged me to include this next poll in this. And this poll question is, just want to make sure I have the wording read appropriately. Are you wearing pants or other work appropriate clothes below the waist? Because we encourage people to again, turn on their cameras and stand up and participate in this. And so we told people, if you're not, don't stand up. And so the responses that we got were the vast majority, 87% of the participants said, of course, exclamation point. The next answer was, oops, not today. And that was only 8%. And then the third option for answer was, I haven't worn anything below the waist since March 18th or whenever your stay-at-home order started. And only 3% of our participants chose that one. So again, if you're doing this on a Zoom call with someone, again, just evaluate your level of professionalism before you stand up. So with that, I will invite my colleagues to stand up, and we're going to take part in a body exercise that is called Ragdoll. So the picture on the left is how you're going to start. So you'll start standing, reaching up toward the sky, and the picture on the right is how we're going to end. So you'll stand up on your tiptoes and you reach, energize, reaching, and then you'll go ahead and just release your fingers. And so you're still reaching with your knuckles, reach, and now you release just to your wrists. So you're still reaching with your wrists, reach, and then you're going to release down to your elbows. So your elbows are still reaching, reach, and then you'll release to your shoulders, but your shoulders are still up, reach with your shoulders. And then you're going to release your shoulders, but keep your head reaching upward, head's reaching upward. And then you're going to release just your chin down to your chest. but your back is still reaching upward. And then you're gonna release just to the middle of your back, but the middle of your spine is still reaching upward. And then the last thing you're gonna do is you're gonna bend all the way over at the waist, and your head should be relaxed, your knees should be bent nice and relaxed. You should have a long spine, your feet should be about hips width apart, your head hanging nice and heavy. So you should be essentially relaxed from the waist up. And then if you wanna, sway from side to side, you can do that. And then once you're feeling comfortable, you can go ahead and roll up slowly, just one vertebrae at a time, and your head should be the last to come up. And again, I want to thank my colleagues for doing that. And hopefully you did it as well. So yeah, so this is something that you can do for, it can get your blood pumping, it can help you feel a little bit more relaxed. I'd like to go ahead and pass to Raina to hear what people said in the chat about how this affected their bodies.
So folks reported that they had some crackles, maybe some popping joints, which is of course very normal, that they felt more energized afterwards. Someone mentioned that they felt they were actually sitting with a better posture after having done this exercise and acknowledged that they needed to do it more. Folks reported that they felt more relaxed, and don't forget about the neck. A lot of tension. Well, not we all, but many of us hold a lot of tension in our neck and shoulders. So it's always a good idea to pay attention to those areas.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Thank you very much. So why is this important? And with this, why is this important? I will give you a bit of homework, another exercise that that you can do. Amy Cuddy did a TED Talk, and you can find that TED Talk online. It's excellent. And in it, she discusses that by changing your body posture, you're not only presenting yourself differently to the world around you, but you can actually change your hormones. So, if you're sitting, making yourself small or bunched up, or if you're sitting on the couch maybe, which I know I've been guilty of working from the couch, or, in a very relaxed position, then how is that affecting your work? If you're sitting hunched over your computer with your shoulders hunched, or how is that affecting your mood and maybe your work and your interacting with other people? And so this exercise that she puts forward is, she calls it power posing. So you can, for 2 minutes, so maybe next time before you're going into a meeting where you're nervous or you're unsure of yourself, or maybe something you're not very excited about, if you stand in a power pose with your arms out as wide as you can and your legs out as wide as you can, then it can actually change your chemistry to feel more powerful, more confident, more alert, and you can feel more prepared. So just something to think about, and an exercise that you can try. Take note of how you feel before you do it, stand in that pose for 2 minutes, and then take note of how you feel after you do it. So again, the positioning, and then also bringing awareness to how your body feels, and stretching your body or relaxing your body to get yourself more energized or more prepared and more aware of the work that you're about to do. So now we're going to move to voice exercises. So we've done face, body, and now we're going to talk about the voice. And we're going to talk about two things. One is enunciation, and the other one is volume. So through Zoom, sometimes it may be a little harder to hear each other. And so enunciation, it's important all the time, but it can be even more important over Zoom. And so an exercise that that a lot of actors do is over enunciating certain words. Sometimes people use tongue twisters. I personally enjoy a good song lyric. So I like to pick some favorite song lyrics and over enunciate those. And so that's what I'm gonna do now. For the sake of clarity, my colleagues are gonna do this as well, but with their volume off, so you can see them over enunciate, but you'll only hear me over enunciating. And the lyrics we're gonna do are Fresh Prince of Bel-Air lyrics. And you can pick any lyrics you'd like, but something just to think about that makes good a good tongue twister or some good lyrics for over enunciation is words that have like T's or D's at the ends of the words. because those often get left off. And so that's a good way to work your articulators. So, so here we go. And again, I invite you to do this along with me. Now, this is a story all about how my life got flipped, turned upside down. And I'd like to take a minute, just sit right there. I'll tell you how I became the prince of a town called Bel Air. Also, it's a great television show. So yeah, so that's something something that you can do. You can pick any song you want, or you can use a regular tongue twister like She Sells Seashells, or any of those work as well. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and pass to Christine Park for volume modulation.
Great. So a number of years ago, I took a group of residents to a workshop in improv. And this was one of the exercises, warm-up exercises, that was done in advance of that. And the purpose of it was to teach residents to learn how to be more assertive or have a different kind of presence in the operating room. I found this to be really, really interesting for me because I find that I am in a very narrow range of volume at any given time throughout my day. So here's how we're going to do the exercise. We're going to start with the number 1, which will be the most quiet that you can speak without whispering. And then we're going to go all the way up through 10, which will be the loudest that you can speak without actually shouting or screaming. Do your best to modulate as well as you can. We're going to go from 1 all the way up to 10. And once we get to 10, we're going to start at 10 and come all the way back down to the bottom. Everyone, all my colleagues, including me, are going to do this with you, but we're all going to go on silent so everyone can find their own voice. And I will signal the numbers. All right. If you would, go ahead and get comfortable, maybe sit in your chair with your feet on the ground in a place where you can move your diaphragm. All right, let's get started. All right, how did that feel? Our next question for you here is to self-assess what number from 1 through 10 felt the most like your natural everyday speaking voice. Just think about that for a second, and then I'm going to toss it to you for the results of our audience.
Yeah, so our question was, what number was the most natural volume for you? And we had the vast majority said a 4. So 36% said 4 was the most natural. But we had some other close ones, 5 and 6. 5 got 15% and 6 also got 15%. And then 3 and 7 each got 14%. So kind of had a bell curve there. And then we actually had 4%, a very small percentage, but 3 people did choose 8 as their most natural volume. So that was one poll that we had here. And then the next poll question that we asked was, how do you speak on teleconferencing compared to your in-person conversations? And we had 55% that said louder, and I know I'm definitely in that group. 55% said that they're louder on teleconferencing. 29% said the same amount on teleconferencing, and then 14% said quieter on teleconferencing. So thank you for that. And thank you for those of you who participated in the poll. And then again, just think about those things for yourself. Because why is this important about your voice, your enunciation, and your volume? Here's a lovely quote from Maya Angelou about how your voice impacts meaning. And just thinking about that sometimes we might speak louder in an effort to be more clear when enunciation is what is required, or you could be more clear just through enunciation. And a lot of people, in speaking louder, you may cause damage to your vocal cords, and you know, you want to protect your vocal cords. And so yeah, just things to think about in your volume. Are you protecting your voice, and are you able to be clear? I know personally I'm louder through Zoom because I guess because in my brain I know everybody's far away, so I feel like I have to yell to be heard. And by the end of the day, I definitely feel more fatigued than I do in a regular workday. So just something to think about. So now that we've talked about your surroundings, your face, your voice, your body, now we're going to move to this last part, which is putting it all together with subtext. And for that, I'm going to pass to Laura McKenzie.
Great. So just before I jump into subtext and what subtext is, just a little background on the subject item. So a few years ago, we collaborated with the Department of Psychiatry at UIC to develop a curriculum aimed at improving empathy in third-year medical students, essentially through acting exercises and exploring the tools of an actor, mind, body, and voice. So I recognize that this isn't a webinar that's necessarily focused on empathy, but there's a lot of overlap if you're you know, considering empathy and rapport and connection, and that overlap is communication. So knowing that we communicate with our bodies and our voices, let's focus on what we're communicating, and that is subtext. So what is subtext? The dictionary says that it is the underlying message being conveyed. All right. So it's the words behind the words. It's the blank spaces, right, between the lines. Everybody says read between the lines. Well, what they're saying is, what's the subtext there? So if we recall that video that Alba showed, right, you know, that was me. So I'm sitting here and this was my response. So, I mean, this is like the universal signal for, yeah, I'm all for it. You know, thumbs up, A-okay. But what is my subtext? What am I really communicating here? You know, I think some people said somebody seemed really disinterested. Even though I'm saying thumbs up, there's something else I'm communicating, right? And we're going to come back to this in just a second. So I want you to think about a time in your life where you might have said something like, it's so good to see you. Or you might have said it like this, it's so good to see you. I mean, I'm saying the exact same words, but I'm communicating something very different. So it's so good to see you. My voice is doing something, my face is doing something, my body is doing something, and it's so good to see you. Everything changed, right? So while the words are staying the same, what I'm communicating is different, and that is subtext. Why is this important? Why are we talking about it now? Because we're communicating remotely, I think it's really easy for us to forget that we might be saying something with words, but communicating something else. Subtext can be intentional, right? I could say, it's so good to see you. And maybe I want you to know that I'm not really that enthused to see you. But subtext can also be unintentional. Like this, like, hey, I'm all for helping on this project, but something's going on here. And I think that it's easy for the unintentional subtext to happen when we're communicating remotely, especially remotely in these circumstances, right? And it's just something to sort of be aware of, to sort of think, wait, check in with your body, check in with your voice. How am I communicating right now? What is my subtext? And maybe I want it to be intentional, but if it's unintentional, there are things that we can do, right? Okay. Blah, blah, blah. So now I'm going to challenge the sales staff to a little subtext game. I'm going to give you a line of dialogue, and your line is, that was a great book. So just kind of say it out loud to yourself, that was a great book. Okay. And that could literally mean that was a great book, but we're going to give you a line of subtext, and you have to try and say the words, that was a great book, with a very different meaning. Okay, so Alba, let's have you go. Your subtext is, I hated every single word of it.
Okay. That was a great book.
Oh, subtext, loud and clear. Let's do one more. Raina, your subtext is, I would really love to get coffee with you sometime.
That was a great book.
Yes, that sounded really like a very pleasant invitation. So now, when we did this webinar originally, we invited people to go into breakout rooms and do a little game with each other. You were going to take a line. I have a meeting that starts in 20 minutes, and you were going to say that to one of your peers. And in your mind, you created your own line of subtext. So is your subtext, I need to leave because I can't stand you? Is your subtext, I can't wait to get to this meeting because I'm in love with somebody that's gonna be there? Whatever your subtext is. So does anybody want to try it? Bob, how about you tell us, I have a meeting that starts in 20 minutes and we're going to try to guess your subtext.
I have a meeting that starts in 20 minutes.
I'm getting, I feel really uncomfortable about this and I want to get out of here.
Great.
Okay, Christine, how about you want to try one?
I will try one. How about this? Okay. Okay. Guys, I have a meeting in 20 minutes.
I'm getting, well, somebody else. What are you getting?
I think you have good news coming in that meeting. I think there's something big that's going to happen in the meeting.
Yes.
Yeah. Excellent. And I think that it's like, I want to go there. I'm excited to go there. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right. And that is subtext. Back to you, Alba.
Thank you so much, Laura. So thank you all so much for being here, for watching our recording, or if you participated in the live webinar, thank you so much for that. Hopefully you've got some new tools. You can think about how your surroundings are. You can think about some face massage or face stretching. You can think about body positioning, body stretching, your voice, and now subtext, putting it all together. So if you have any questions or any additional thoughts, things that you want to add on or share with us about this, you can feel free to send me an email. My email address is here on this last slide. It's awoolard@uic.edu. And thank you all so much and have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.